All right, here we go. JSEMP, April 2023, second call of the month. The second call of the month is always focused on downloads and discernments. We work directly with source energy, and I really like the process of working with source energy because the way it's all about how we formulate, and it's all about understanding that in how you formulate, you say a lot about your willingness to surrender to, to God, to a higher power that knows what's for your highest good more than you do when you're like ego encapsulated. So these formulas that we use, it's always the same formula. It's like we ask for a download of information or a discernment between, like, helping to fine tune the understanding in the brain and the cortex brain of different things such as service and sacrifice. And we ask that it be done for our highest good, or for the highest good of all life, which is even more high frequency to say it like that, in the best possible way. And the reason we say that is because there are probably 16,000 ways it can happen, as opposed to the 3 you imagine that could be. And finally, in order for me to embody my highest potential. So by formulating it like that, we're not like, God, do this for me. God, take away this thing, make this go away. Give me money. Get rid of this for me. Like, because the reality is nothing needs to be gotten rid of. Things need to be reintegrated and brought back into the central line. So, source work is awesome for that. I'll get into it a little bit more when we actually start doing it. But the reason I'm kicking the call off directly by talking about the concept of that source work is because this year, the whole program is about healing what we call the inner child, which is really just, it's kind of like these time capsules and these moments of us that are frozen in time, and they're frozen in time and they're looping in there like it's right now, and our goal this year for the whole program this year, the goal is to go from being that wounded inner child, which just means stuck in kind of time capsules, looping in real time with things that happened 30 years ago, 40 years ago, that were managed by a childlike brain and managed by a developmental level within your brain that doesn't allow you to process in real time and actually respond in an adult fashion to what's going on around you. So the goal is to go from that wounded inner child to a healthy adult self, healthy adult sovereign self. So healthy adult self, in this case, we're really talking about a healthy ego. And it's like, so much of spiritual work is about, like, you think you need to get rid of your ego and transcend your ego and become pure spirit. And, the goal of being incarnated in a body is to bring spirit down into matter, and also to give matter the experience of ascending, of coming up in levels of complexity, more and more levels of complexity. We call them dimensions. Like first dimension corresponds to root chakra stuff, second dimension to sacral chakra stuff, and it goes on like that. As we work with these 4 levels of being, the core star level, the Hairline intentional field level, the psycho-emotional auric field level, and the physical, manifestation of all of these levels into this humanoid body you get to carry and play around with and house an ego in. It's like we really want to get out of the way of the process. We want to get out of the way so that the core star flow can simply flow out the divine pleasure of creating for no other reason than because it's awesome to do it, for no other reason than because your essence wants to express itself and then wants to bring it back in through all the layers and generate more core essence, more individuated God essence. If you remember these calls in late 2022. we need the vessel to be clear. We need the vessel to be functioning properly. We need there to be room. And this is the thing, like these core traumas from childhood and these moments where a book I'm reading, they're calling it time capsules. It's so funny because like that's literally what it is. It's like a time capsule. There's a part of you that's part of your energy that's stuck in a time capsule. These interfere with your ability to create anything you'd want to create. You know, and it's like, and then it leads us into these like paths of feeling like a victim, feeling like, you know, why isn't it working out for me? Why this? Why that? And really, at the end of the day, all that's really going on is that there is interference in the proper flow of the energy from one level of your being to another, and then from the outer levels of the being back into the core star. So that's our goal this year, is helping to smooth out the bridges between the levels and smooth out the content within the layers so that we can get more and more flow. You know, like when I do these Facebook events called Sacred Heart Flow, it's kind of all about that. It's like, can we learn to flow that energy of the heart outwards and feed ourselves with it, so that everything gets a lot simpler. You know, when we're stuck in our heads trying to figure all that, working with a bunch of programs that got put into place to ensure our physical survival, we're not really interacting with things outside of us that much. We are interacting with our programs about these things. And that basically means that we're in reaction and not able to respond. We're not in response. We're not in responsibility. So I already know that one of the discernments I want to work on tonight is going to be about victimhood and responsibility, reactivity and responsibility. Because that's a huge one. That's a huge one for us to work on all the time. Because if we're really honest about this, most of us have been in reactivity our entire lives. And we get little breaks once in a while when we're calm, when there's nothing triggering us. We kind of get to feel that we're like calm and present. And then all of a sudden you just feel the ideas, the flow, everything's flowing better. Like, but the reality is that for most of us, like these are the rare moments. And what we want to do is we want to make that the baseline. We want that to be the normal. We want a state of responsivity to be our normal state, and allow reactivity to have its place where it's meant to be. And that, in many ways, that was my goal this month. I wanted to really go into talking about the brainstem and how your survival instinctive brain functions with the fight, flight, freeze mechanisms, which are all awesome things to have. You need those. You know, you need to be able to get out of the way of a car that's about to hit you. You need to be able to get your hand off of something that's about to burn it without needing to think about it and have an emotional reaction to it. Like that needs to be able to happen right away. Your body needs to be able to protect itself from harm. So that's the proper place of reactivity. You want that reactive part of your brain to be healthy and able to function properly, because you absolutely need that to function properly in order for your body to be safe from physical harm. So none of this is about, you know, just like spiritual growth isn't about kicking your ego out of your body. And in the same way, like learning to live more and more into the intuitive parts of your brain and being able to process information in real time doesn't mean trying to dissociate from the lower parts of your body or from your lower mind. They have their place. They have their place, and we want them functioning as optimally as they can, So please remember this. You know, this isn't like about like, oh my God, I went into that zone, and then I like, you know, like I went into fight and I went into flight. What we want is that when that kicks in, it kicks in because there is a valid reason. There is a valid reason that involves your physical safety that is involved in the process, as opposed to programs, as opposed to, a program from when you were 3 years old and you decided that's not safe. Dissociation, brain goes in overdrive, and then that program goes in. Okay, to be creative can get me in trouble. Okay, so note to self, anytime I'm creative, I got to be aware, like, I might get in trouble, I might get attacked. Yeah, that's what we want to calm down. We want your survival brain functioning at its optimal state. And I had a session recently with someone on this call, and this beautiful sentence emerged from it, which was, ultra presence leads to ultra instincts. And that's our goal. That's our goal. We want to be so present within our system that our instincts can function at their ultra optimal state. What a sentence. Ultra presence leads to ultra instincts. Wow. So there's a couple of things I want to say before I go into the downloads. How much time? I don't want to I can start talking and go into woo, but I want to say a couple of things about this lizard brain that we have, that I would like to do an entire call just on this, but I'm just going to touch on it a little bit. That lizard brain is the seat of intuition, the way it has worked up to now. The way it has worked up to now on Earth for humans, intuition has been very fear-based. And that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. That's like you're walking around in the forest and all of a sudden you're aware that there's a jaguar behind you looking at you. Okay? That's good intuition to have. But it's very, very body-based intuition that you could almost interchangeably, it sounds really weird to say this, you could almost interchangeably say fear-based, like fear. Like it's intuitive information that comes in through the fear brain, which is your reptilian brain, and it reacts right away. If there's an animal attacking and that fear brain kicks in time, it's like, boom, you'll spirit in time, so that's a super powerful, in the moment kind of intuition, because that's how that part of your brain works. It works in the moment only. What we're going through right now, humanity, which if you've ever delved into gene keys or human design and started to kind of explore stuff like that, is super interesting. We're going through what they call a solar plexus mutation. And it's like the next evolution, not only of the human body and the vibrational frequency that it's at, but it's like the quantum leap in our intuition, which will go from being a fear-based, spleen-based, in the moment, reactive energy into a more emotion-based, liver-based. It's hard to talk about this really quickly, because in human design they split the spleen and the liver. The solar plexus chakra is now recognized as two different organs that govern it. The spleen one is the fear-based in the moment. The liver is the more emotional processing one. And the kind of intuition that's kicking into gear that we are starting to see emerge, and it's a process. It's not like it happens overnight. It happens over a couple of generations. But more and more, emotion will be an information. Instead of us being victims of our emotions or of other people's emotions, which is what we're going through right now. You're 3, an angry adult walks up to you and screams at you, trauma. You're a victim to the emotion that just got in you, or you're a victim to your own emotions towards that. You start crying, you start freaking out, that's about to mutate. And wow, what that's so awesome that we get to see the beginning of it. Can you imagine what it'd be like to not feel like a victim of emotions? And there's a little super interesting key in here, is that as we evolve in consciousness, as we evolve in awareness, we will be more and more able to understand that it's all about frequency fields. It's just information. Someone going through an emotion of anger, they are hijacked by the frequency field of anger. It's not them personally. Just like you going into this like pit of self-pity and shame and despair or whatever, like you are connecting to a frequency. The more we become able to understand that, it will completely depersonalize our experience of emotions. And that might sound a little bit scary because some of us kind of like, we get high on emotions, but at the end of the day, that is becoming, that is ultra presence. That is like, oh, this emotion is coursing through my body right now. Oh, X emotion is coursing through that person's body right now. And being able to be in tune at the emotional level so much with things that, you're able to harmonize with them. You're able to notice what's going on in an emotional field, and you can choose to bring your frequency up through ultra presence and start affecting by entrainment the frequency band that the other person is in at that time. That's the potential of us learning to become responsive, of us managing to bring to the reptilian brain the healing that it needs in order for it to be functioning at its optimal state. Sorry, I'm freezing. I need to lower up the having our survival brain able to function at its optimal state, which, unless something's coming at you to attack you, shouldn't really be on. Imagine that. Your reptilian brain doesn't need to be freaking out about anything unless something is going on that warrants it. If you look at lizards, unless something's attacking them, they're chilling out on a rock, enjoying the sun. Use that as an image for yourself of what your reptilian brain should look like on a normal day-to-day basis. It should be chilling out on a rock unless something's coming at it. That's kind of what we did 2 weeks ago, right? We're just kind of like, it's safe to relax. It's safe to relax. We just kept bringing that as it's not a program, but it's like bringing that as an information in the reptilian brain, like, yo, it's safe to relax. Because it's like what's going on is everything your reptilian brain is reacting to most of the time is coming from programs and from fears that are coursing through our bodies because of like stuck energy and traumas and unprocessed feelings. And it's like constantly reacting to that. We clear the energies out, right? We choose and decide to be conscious beings that have the courage to go and hold the space in these places in our body where these energies have been stuck and stagnant and just kind of like looping, in order to free them and allow them to come back into the flow of the system. That's it. That's the choice. That's the choice of rising up into mastery so that we can be ultra present, so that we can have ultra instincts. Oh my God, I love this. I love this idea. Sorry, I'm having fun imagining this lizard because there's so many lizards here that I'm looking at all the time. Like, and they're super chill, unless there's another lizard there that they need to like bob their heads at to like say I'm in charge or whatever. They're just chill. They eat, they have sex, they lay eggs, they chill on a rock. That's what that brain part of you should be doing. Fight, flight, freeze, it'll have one default that it likes more than another one. That's fine. But it's like when stress gets too intense in our lives, we start going too much into that default one, right? And that's what I was talking about last time. Like it's, like we kind of like if yours is more the freeze thing, you kind of go more into like, I need to micromanage and organize a bunch of things and like stay at home secure. Or, if the volume's too loud on the flight one, it's kind of like, I need to go out and do things. Like, and if the fight one has the volume on too loud, then you need these super intense, intimate like moments with your partner or other people. So I thought that next month I was going to start talking about character structures, and I just want to do like parentheses. It's too big of a subject to go into next month. Next month, I want to hone into talking more about the emotional brain, because I realize that if we just give 1 month to each parts of the brain, we're gonna be able to go much deeper into helping each of these layers. So next month, I'll talk about tribal programming, roles, emotional brain, a whole bunch of yummy, funky stuff to understand about how we're interacting with others. For tonight, I really want to stick to this brainstem, reptilian brain stuff that we're working on. Okay, anything else I want to say before we start the downloads? Yes. Yeah. I've said this before, but I want you to understand that your brainstem and your reptilian brain, it's like the ganglion, whatever it's called, like it's like this it's like the stem of your whole nervous system that goes down through your spine. Okay, it's like your nervous system is probably the most important part of your body. It's hyper important. And this is crazy to realize, but it's like the way that works is like from that brainstem, like it goes into your spine, down your spine, all the way to your tailbone. And then where you've got your 12 ribs, okay, you've got a series of nerves that come out between each of the spots between your ribs. And these nerves are all part of the sympathetic. I think it's the sympathetic system. I might be wrong. There's the parasympathetic and the sympathetic, but one of them is all about fight and flight. One of them is all about that reptilian brain and like go, just it makes you go until like it shrinks everything down, and then all you have is like a bunch of adrenaline, and you will do whatever it is that you do. So either you do fight, flight, or freeze. So you've got 12 pairs of these nerves. Okay, it's 24 nerves that are governing your stress reactions and your fight, flight, freeze. And then you have one nerve that manages all your rest and digest energy. It's kind of crazy when you think about it. It's called the vagus. I'm not sure how to say it properly, but it's one nerve and it goes down and it hits all the organs. And it's like when you're in fight and flight, it is impossible to rest and digest. That's the key thing to understand in what I'm saying right now. If these 12 pairs of nerves are active, which for most of us is kind of like almost all the time, except when we're in deep sleep, that nerve that ensures that you can rest, like deeply rest, regenerate your organs, kick in your healing abilities, receive guidance and intuition, and like all that yummy intuitive brain stuff. That all requires that nerve not be hindered by the other system. So just remember that 12 pairs of nerves versus one nerve. Fight, flight managed by 12 pairs of nerves. Rest and digest by one. So the more we clear out the programs within these parts of our brain that keep us stuck in reaction, that keep us stuck in fear, programs that are running all the time. These parts of our brain never rest. They don't rest. We want to become ultra present. If I want to describe that right now, it would look something like when you're ultra present, you are fully embodied in that one nerve. It's an absolute requirement. In order to become the humans that we are becoming, that are able to function with a high level of intuition that is related to the ability to feel all the emotions and all the currents and all the frequencies around us, we cannot be in fight or flight. How would that ever work? That's the old school intuition. And it has its purpose, because you don't want the tiger to eat you. But we want to really learn to embody that calm nerve through which we can digest everything going on around us. Right? So, just FYI, when we're meditating and we really get into it, really get deep into it, that's what we're doing. We're activating the vagus nerve. We're activating the rest and digest function. You know, whenever we're doing stuff and you start feeling energy and it feels soft, and like when you can start feeling expansion happening, that's what we're doing. We are in that nerve. Oh. Let's play. I've got a whole bunch of yummy discernments I want to play with tonight. I'm gonna get excited and I have to calm down and go in my rest and digest state. All right. I'll put this part of the video on YouTube again because I'm enjoying doing that. And yeah. All right. Anyone listening to the YouTube video and want to come in the program, come join us.